When a Sister of Silence walks past them, you feel ill. You feel just uncomfortable and strange.
I'm gonna use that as an excuse for whenever I'm stinky because I haven't showered. That's gonna be my excuse. It's just that I'm connected to the warp, okay?
See, none of the
There's Bricky, there he is. Bricked up already. Bricky jump scared. I want to learn a little bit about the humans because I thought the Mechanicus were under the thumb of the Imperium of Man. In that same vein, right? The Emperor of Mankind. But you guys said that no, apparently the Mechanicus are more allied than anything and they don't really answer to God Emperor of Mankind, right? So, and that's why they're fucking with chaos artifacts and chaos energies and stuff that they shouldn't be fucking with because of that, you know? Before I get ahead of myself, why haven't you guys liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter and Twitch at Scarlette_yen? Because if you don't, I'm gonna force you to walk on Legos for the rest of your life and then put you in the penis explosion chamber and have your penis exploded immediately. So you better subscribe.
As someone who doesn't necessarily serve the Omnissiah, but someone who can appreciate them, you will not be getting my legs today, as I will be replacing them with various things depending on which faction we are currently talking about to add a little
There's some Bricky with goth girl ripped jeans. Think about it.
more context and possible comedy to whatever the hell I am currently doing. So, hello everybody, my name is Bricky, and this is going to be a long video and a large project that has been going on for quite some time.
I'm not Bricky.
I need two hands for this. This is every single Warhammer 40k race in kind of a nutshell, explained, a little bit of explanation, a little bit of lore, a little bit of talking about the tabletop, but mostly lore, what they're all about, and also a little bit of background for those of
Seeing girl Bricky isn't real, he can't hurt you. I wish he was.
you who just have no clue what Warhammer 40,000 is. Now you see, Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000 is a universe people hear plenty of but don't know a whole lot about. They see, oh, there's these dudes in big power armor with chainsaw swords and they got these big old green orcs and there's some bugs over there and everyone calls these guys weebs, and then there's these spiky bitches over here and I don't get it. I don't understand. Where do I start? Well, this video
This is, by the way, quite literally me. Whenever I do a question about anything in Warhammer, every time I ask about a specific faction or enemy or whatever, there's so many asterisks tied to it. I need like, again, just the bare basics so I can properly enjoy it and learn, you know, little by little.
video is particularly for you, or for those of you who have a little bit of knowledge, but you're kind of curious about each of the different races and factions in Warhammer. So overall, the Warhammer universe is vast when it comes to lore and background, and each different faction is so different with the things that they believe in, and some are human, some are transhuman, like where they all have all these crazy ass electronics on them. You've got aliens and you've got the chaos factions, and there's so much to entail.
Hey, look, it's me, IRL. Aren't I pretty? Look, it's me right here. Aren't I pretty?
That I decided to embark on this project to tell you what each and every single one of them is about and what the Warhammer universe is about as well, to give at least a little bit of an intro to this extremely bloated but very, very enjoyable world that I and many others partake in. So I will be explaining every single faction in the Warhammer 40k universe, at least all the factions you can play as, and some smaller factions here and there. I will not be discussing absolutely
By the way, I know that we already passed that scene, but part of the reason why I enjoyed the Tau was entirely because the Tau logo reminded me of the Marathon logo, and I like the original Marathon games. I don't know what the fuck is Bungie doing with the new one, Jesus Christ.
Everything in it, because that is a little bit much, and I'm not going to go too mega deep into the lore. I'm going to give you a pretty solid overview of each of the different factions and have you learn a little bit about them, and we'll discuss a little bit of the tabletop as well in case you are curious about that. But for this episode entirely, we are discussing the Imperium of Man, because that takes up a fat chunk of Warhammer lore. Oh, boo-hoo! What is Warhammer 40,000? Well, the 40,000 starts off is the year 40,000, the 41st millennium. That's where it takes place, is in the year 40,000, 41,000 AD.
Right.
You're already more knowledgeable. Let me read you a quote, first of many quotes in this video. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 years, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die.
So whenever I consume a new piece of media, I try to draw parallels between like different pieces of media that I enjoy in order for me to be able to remember all these details. The closest thing that I could think of that's similar in another piece of media would be for me. The Imperium of Man almost sounds like, if you guys have played Dark Souls, particularly the first one, you guys would know that in the first Dark Souls, at the end of the game, you had the choice of either kindling the fire to extend the age of, I think it was called the Age of Embers, or you could snuff it out and essentially doom the world as you know it and plunge it into an age of darkness. And there's a lot of Dark Souls lore that I don't quite remember right now, but the way that I look at the Imperium of Men right now is essentially the Emperor. And I know the Warhammer came way before Dark Souls. You don't have to tell me that, but I do know that the Emperor can only survive due to these 1,000 souls that they're sacrificing every day. And I also remembered that apparently, currently, at least in one of the videos that we saw previously, that number has gone up. And here Bricky's saying 1,000, but if I remember correctly, that number went up to 4,000. Like currently from what I understand in the story, or at least where the Warhammer lore is at this point in time. My question is, how far can the Imperium of Man take it before they get blown the fuck out by the other factions? That's a real question here. Like a dying age forcefully kept going through sacrifices, essentially, yes. In Dark Souls particularly, that's the premise of the first game.
To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Everything blows, and it blows fucking hard. Warhammer.
Yeah, I noticed that while playthroughs for you too. Like, there's a lot of stuff that is so nonsensical in terms of like why people are such hard asses over the most minuscule thing, and it's clear that it's just the game showing how far people take their abuse of power in that universe.
Is probably the most dark and depressing universes ever in fiction, or at least like top 3. Everything is so absurdly horrible, destructive, or overpowered that it all kind of ends up canceling itself out. It's like Dota. War rages across the galaxy.
You know what, Bricky? I kind of disagree with you there. I think the darkest piece of media out there has to be League of Legends. Not even Dota. League of Legends, bro. People have unironically ended their lives because of that game. Okay, if you end your existence because of a game, there's nothing darker than that. Okay.
Galaxy. Interstellar travel is only possible due to sacrificing 1,000 souls a day to a rotting carcass of a man who you believe to be your god. Demonic.
By the way, you guys are gonna have to do that for me when I become a full-time VTuber. Smile.
Gods and just demons tear open the fabric of reality on a whim. Other Xenos or even other humans end up killing each other in untold billions across the galaxy. It is a time of unending war, slaughter, and a bloodbath amongst everybody. Planets are deemed unrecoverable and are completely destroyed on a whim. Everything sucks, but that's like the charm of it. See, everything in Warhammer is evil, but being evil is kind of fun. Like, humanity in its own right is a xenophobic, prejudice, and religious zealot group.
You know what, Bricky? I fail to see the problem. Listen, man, when we're fighting against aliens, and we're fighting against, the forces of chaos who want you dead no matter what, I fail to see the problem with that. I just, listen, I think my xenophobia is justified. When one of these, four-legged motherfuckers, xeno-stinky pieces of shit, come to my planet and start destroying my shit, no shit I'm gonna get xenophobic, okay? No shit.
That kill each other just as much as they kill all of their enemies. And they're like mid to high tier evil on the evil scale of Warhammer.
Why is Tau that high?
No matter who you are, everyone is some flavor, some color of evil. Whoever you pick, you are going to be the bad guy. But that's the fun of it. Because being the bad guy is badass. Villains are cool. They look cool, they got cool outfits, they got cool weapons, they got cool armies. Villains are cool,
Made the Empire
man.
great again.
And when everyone is a villain, everyone is pretty cool. That's what makes this so charming, is that everyone can be the bad guy. So let's start off talking about
Not me, though. My racism is nuanced and it's justified and morally correct, okay? So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted, okay? I'm a good girl, okay? I'm a very good girl.
the main bad guy, quote unquote, the Imperium of Man.
His hair, whack. His gear, whack.
Whack.
The Imperium of Man is the main empire of the human race. All of humanity is under this one flag called the Imperium. And about 10,000 years ago, there was a man. He was the emperor of mankind, a 10-foot tall psychic demigod who led humanity across the stars to colonize tons and tons of worlds, create superhuman soldiers, and really bring humanity into a new age.
So essentially, he's, space Christopher Columbus.
This man, the Emperor of Mankind, was a psyker. And a psyker is like a magician of sorts. In the world of 40K,
Okay,
there
Latina,
is
fuck
the
you.
warp, the immaterium, kind of like hell.
You say okay, Latina, but you love Latinas. Also, White Bow Summer. Do yourself a big Buddha Latina. Thank you. Species, more like species. Damn, guys, do you really have to ruin my joke like that? I know you guys have called him species before.
But sort of like a purgatory dimension.
I was trying to do a new bit,
hell.
goddamn.
And a psyker is someone who can take that power and manifest it through their mind to use it to do stuff. Well, like with
I was trying to do a new bit, goddamn.
And a psyker spells and lots of other things, but we don't want to get too into that. The Emperor, big boy psyker, top tier, A+, maybe even S. Now the Emperor created a bunch of sons. Yes, created a bunch of sons known as the Primarchs. He created
By the way, you guys should totally do that. Smile. Did you just encourage clap time? Yes.
18 Primarchs to have them lead all of the different legions of
I
humanity.
think I get this one. I think if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the reason why he went from 20 to 18 is because Horus and the king that Horus killed are gone now. So
different stars and planets to help colonize and bring it out. These Primarchs are basically like little versions of the Emperor. Not all of them are psychers, but a lot of them are very, very powerful, and they lead his special Space Marine legions. Then this big clusterfuck happened called the Horus Heresy, where the Emperor's favorite son, the Primarch, Horus, ended up joining Chaos and leading 9 of the 18, half of his Primarchs directly to Earth to fight down the Emperor himself. Now, if you want to know what Chaos is, remember what I mentioned earlier? The warp, that immaterium, the...
Okay, hold on. Pause. So, out of the 18 kids, 9 of them became allied with the Chaos Forces. Oh god, what's the name? What's Trinity's in Space Marine 2? The what's the anti-something? The anti-chapter, I forgot the name right now, jeez. No, the 19th and 20th were in OG edition where you can't make custom chapters. Oh, so they got written out of the game. Just like so there's different editions of Warhammer. Okay. Actually, Scar, it would be racist in the purest form of the word because aliens are not Homo sapiens. And that, my friend, is why it's based.
hellish place. In there relies the 4 chaos gods. Imagine like Satan and 3 other Satans.
No, there's just 2 that are redacted. 2 Primarchs apparently committed acts so horrific that they and their legions expunged from history. were expunged from history. Gotcha, thank you.
Warp being kind of evil, those Chaos Gods, that's the reason. And so those
Hey,
Chaos
look, it's me
Gods
on the bottom right.
manipulated Horus, and then Horus helped manipulate all 8 other Primarchs to lead this giant coup directly on the Emperor on Earth. And they fucked up shit. After this huge civil war, Horus died, but not before brutally wounding the Emperor, and right at the end of his life, they put the Emperor on this large golden throne on Earth, in which he is now alive, just barely, but slowly rotting away, powering something called the Astronomicon, so long as he stays alive, and is fed.
Okay. Keyword, Astronomicon. That's a keyword that I heard quite a bit during Space Marine 2. Gotta remember this.
1,000 people a day. The Astronomicon is like the North Star. If you want to do interstellar travel in 40K,
Look at
you need
Bricky's
to pass
legs.
through that demonic warp I mentioned earlier. But how do you know where you're going? Well, the Emperor is there putting a nice little navigator right there. He helps navigate you to know where you're going. If you want to go from Earth to some crazy solar system across the way, you need to go through that warp, and then you need to know where you're going, go through there, and pop your way out. It's like doing nether travel in Minecraft, so you can shorten the distance between going to areas.
That's really fucked, because then that truly means that should the Emperor kick the bucket, that's it. That's it. I knew that the Emperor was critical to the survival of the Imperium of mankind, but it's critical to the point where they quite literally can't even space travel with any reliability anymore if the guy is not alive anymore. So should the Emperor die, we would have a fragmented and just Imperium across the space. You can still travel through the warp. It would just always be a random jump more or less. So effectively, if it's not for the Emperor, there's no sort of operations that the Imperium of Men could do, and it's essentially, if they're a mid to high tier civilization, they would go all the way down to like bottom tier, F tier. Like they would just become a wet noodle overnight in terms of like logistics, because they can't plan anything. Yep, old heresy tech. That's probably forgotten would be the only way. The Astronomicon is already having issues. I mean, that's fine, but again, you have to understand, like, when you come in here and you say it's already doing this, like I'm learning about what the Astronomicon even is, so you have to like pause a little bit. If it wasn't for the Emperor, the human race would die out because the Tyranids would wipe them out. Yeah, like that's something super obvious. In like it's very obvious how outmatched the Empire is when playing Space Marine 2. The xenomorphs. The fact that just one of them can take out one of those beefcake Space Marines just for fun, if they're even a little bit careless. The fact that those bug fuckers can just look at you the wrong way and get you murdered in 5 seconds is shocking, despite all of the stuff that the Space Marines go through to be able to become as strong as they are.
So long as the Emperor is alive and being fed 1,000 people a day to stay alive, you can do that. The moment he dies, interstellar travel's gone for all of humanity. You're so boned. Now, since
I didn't
Horus
pre-watch
heresy
this
10,000 years ago, the Imperium has fallen from grace substantially. All technology has started to dwindle and die. There is now giant fundamental religious extremists that now believe the Emperor of Mankind was a deity, a true living god.
Okay, and here's where that idea of him being a potential god of some sort comes from. So there's people who have now taken who have radicalized themselves into believing this because of the power that he had.
Which is probably the last thing the Emperor would have wanted to be remembered for. So now you have this thing called the Ecclesiarchy, which is this giant church entirely devoted to spreading the good word of the Emperor. He is now the Holy Emperor God, the God Emperor of mankind, and all of the Imperium has taken up worshiping him to the fullest extent and killing anything that isn't humanity in his name. The Imperium has this futuristic gothic tone to it and a hefty religious zealotry to them.
Honestly, the ships that you see in Space Marine 2 are still fucking cool. Like, I really enjoyed this design. I'm not gonna lie. I realize that you play as Smurfs and people don't love the Ultramarines and there's like better factions or cooler factions. I get that, but I really do enjoy the designs of the ships from that I've seen so far in Space Marine
You
2.
think anything against the Emperor, that's heresy and you deserve to die. That is called being a heretic. Heretics die in 40K. There is no such thing as
And you know who also dies in 40K? And actually IRL people who don't subscribe to my channel. Subscribe.
freedom of religion. There is no such thing as freedom of speech so long as you are against the Emperor. There is no such thing as any kind of tolerance. Everyone is a religious zealot. Some more than others, but no matter what, you're preaching that good word. So right now, everyone in humanity is trying to expand
Look,
their
I'm new
empire
here, and I
across
welcome
the
you here.
stars. If you are a heretic, someone who doesn't believe in the Emperor, you are deserving of death. If you believe in the Chaos Gods, you are also a heretic and you deserve death. If you are an alien race of any kind, you are a filthy Xenos and you deserve death as well. So long as the murder continues and humanity expands, the Imperium of Man is very, very happy. However, the largest fighting force of this Imperium is my personal favorite faction, and the first faction we will discuss, the Astra Militarum, or also known as the Imperial Guard.
Pretty shit now, man. You finished. That's it, man. Game over, man.
The Imperial Guard is the main fighting force of the Imperium.
Yeah, and these are the fuckers that every time I would go into battle, they would jump straight into the Xenos, or rather the Tyranids, and would not allow me to save them. I was trying to run ahead of them so I could save them before they get murdered by the Tyranids, and they would not allow me. They would just run forward and get themselves killed, man. Like, god damn.
And in a world of horrifying creatures, galactic monstrosities, the literal demons themselves breaking through the fabric of time to kill you, the Imperial Guard are untold billions of regular men and women wearing modern day like flak armor with a laser rifle. This is the humble las gun, the main weapon of the Imperial Guard. It fires superheated plasma lasers at an extremely fast fire rate. It is reliable, never jams. It can blow off limbs, giant holes in concrete. It is overall an extremely devastating
and that giant hole in your mom
weapon in modern day. It is one of the weakest in the 40K universe. Yeah, a laser rifle that never jams, it could blow off limbs, one of the weakest weapons. That's the world we're in right now. But who cares? Because the Imperial Guard has, in each battle, 500,000 of these men and women, 30,000 large armored tanks, 10,000 artillery batteries. The Imperial Guard wins through sheer numbers and firepower. They kind of have this World War I, World War II style aesthetic with legions of guardsmen as well as high company commanders and generals on the field along with them, and multiple kinds of troops. A normal Imperial Guard battle starts off with artillery, long lines of artillery, cracking the crust of the planet underneath the enemy's feet.
So essentially the humans in Warhammer are the equivalent of the Zergs in StarCraft 2. They essentially win their battles the same way the Zerg win in StarCraft 2. They just Zerg rush you to death. Quantity over quality and hope that you make it. No, those are Tyranids. But okay. So then what are they? When you're playing a human faction in Warhammer 40K, like when you play the tabletop, then how does it play? If they're this weak but numerous, like, well, would the gameplay be that drastically different or no?
And as this barrage continues, hundreds of thousands of guardsmen, a sea of guardsmen surges forward, firing and charging at everything possible while the planet rumbles as tanks roll up behind them. Gunships block out the sun and tanks block out the dirt with the steps and hoofprints of millions of guardsmen. It is through numbers and sheer sundering firepower. They are the first and last line of defense for the Imperium and make up a huge bulk of the battles. The Imperial Guard is also made up of tons of different...
So it sounds more like it's kind of like a Zerg, but you can build it however you want. So it doesn't really matter. They're a gun horde. Tyranids are a melee horde. So it's kind of like Zerg. Okay, so I'm not too far off.
different kinds of regiments. The Catachin jungle fighters live in a death world that's more hospitable than almost any firefight they'll ever get into. So they just have this steroid-looking, giant knife, Rambo Predator-looking sons of bitches, where nothing is anywhere near as scary as a simple knight on their home planet. You have the Valhallan winter soldiers who haven't felt their toes in 300
Yeah, these look more like Russian World War II soldiers.
years. The
Maybe World War I, I'm not quite sure.
Iron Guard, who are more interested in making their shoes shine than actually fighting a battle. And then, of course, the big one, the Cadians from Cadia.
Oh yeah, so and this is why, oh my god, what's the name of the, there's Gadriel, which is easy to remember because his name, Gadriel's name is easy to, Chiron, I think it's Chiron, the name of the guy, who got mad during Space Marine 2 and was because Chaos Marines exploded Cadia, the white, like his origin planet, right? Yeah, Chaos ran the station into the planet and blew it up. Okay, so and Chiron, was the name of the guy in Space Marine 2 Chiron? I think it's Chiron, the name of the guy who gets angry and almost jeopardizes the mission. Chiron, yes, okay. See, I'm trying my best here. I'm trying my best here to remember all these like moving parts, and it's a lot to remember for somebody who hasn't touched anything about Warhammer in 15 years. I'm trying to like draw all the connections over here. Okay.
The biggest export of guardsmen in the entirety of the Imperium. You will fire your first gun at 5. You will disassemble and reassemble it at 10. You will have pounding artillery drills day in and day out at 15.
So they're Middle Eastern soldiers, essentially, right now. They're the equivalent of viral Middle Eastern soldiers. That's fucked up, dude.
And you'll fight your first Swarm Lord at 16. And if you mention Cadia, you will burst into an unrelenting amount of tears and sadness like I do daily. To quote, I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard, 50 regiments including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. The Imperial Guard are my personal favorite faction in 40k. They're the army I collect the most, the ones I enjoy playing the most, and the one I enjoy in the lore sense a lot. There's something about just a regular man with a laser rifle being told to charge the horrors of this universe and willingly doing so for his god emperor. It's just...
Fuck it, we ball. Fuck it, we ball.
They
Fuck it,
actually
we ball.
represent the main Imperial Guard tactics pretty well. Large amounts of artillery that doesn't require a line of sight, lots of tanks, tons of infantry, drop troops, and gunships. Overall, they're pretty similar to how they sound, though a little bit expensive to collect, unfortunately. And they don't hit a lot. They have a bit of a bad aim, but you don't really care because you're just drowning them in shots. However, if you want more accurate fire and specialization, we can move on to talk about Space Marines.
There we go.
The Angels of Death are up next. Space Marines are genetically engineered super soldiers and superhumans. They're given extra organs, their skin tissue is toughened, their bones are stronger, they're taller than the average person. They're pretty massive people, and these are the specialized super soldiers that carry out a lot of the more specific tasks for the Imperium. And there's tons of legions of them. In fact, there's one per Primarch. Each Primarch, the Emperor's son, as I mentioned before, oversees their legion of Space Marines. The genetic upgrade they get is based on the genes of said Primarch. It's something called a gene seed. That's what brings them up to this like superhuman level. As stated, each Primarch has their own legion. Robot, girly man.
Or as they call it in Space King, the holy globules that they insert via the penis, I think. And they also remove via the penis.
Has the Ultramarines.
Oh, the video's really funny.
Has the White Scars.
There we go. Those are my guys. I like the White Scars.
Corax has the Raven Guard. And there's a whole bunch of other side sections that are also extremely interesting and have a little bit more of a twist on the average Space Marines, which we'll discuss in a bit. Humorously enough, I don't have a whole lot to say about Space Marines. They're superhumanly fast. In fact, it's been said that nothing that large should move that quick. These men in power armor moving at blazing fast speeds. Their reflexes are faster. Their skin is is tougher. They are overall just extremely powerful soldiers. In fact, where they differ comes down to which Space Marine Legion we're talking about. For instance, the Ultramarines done by Robot Gilliman.
That's the first game, I remember this.
Are the main blue boys. Strong in almost every way, the jack of all trades kind of group that are a little bit too strong, and that's a lore problem, but the White Scars by Jagatai Khan.
Yeah, those are my guys.
Freaks, go fast. We're talking attack bikes.
Go fast, eat
land
ass.
Speeders. You want to go in.
I remember
quick,
these guys. I like these guys a lot.
Swarming around like buzzflies.
And they're also the ones that are based like in the Mongolian culture, so it's very possible. I asked this last time, and I don't think I got an answer to this, but it's very possible that they do like Mongolian throat singing when going into battle, and that's sick as fuck.
Buzz saws. With the speed of buzz saws.
Okay, Bricky.
Fuck you, Pale King. Salamanders love fire.
Thank
fire
you.
in the forge, fire in battle. Flamers, melta-guns, multi-meltas. Just so long as something can be burning, that's big. And they're also actually some of the nicest of the Space Marines. A lot of Space Marines
rifle, my
have this
beloved.
kind of like holier-than-thou thing because of their genetic strength. However, the Salamanders tend to put human lives above the lives of themselves, which is actually rather rare. They're also all black, but not like just regular black, like 2 a.m. line at a White Castle. Black. Like they have a charcoal, dark, ashy exterior and blazing red eyes.
Holy.
Apparently something about living on their home planet of Nocturne, which I don't know if that makes much sense, but who cares? This is like fantasy land.
This is not, don't get it twisted, not African American black. But White Castle at 2 a.m. black, okay. What kind of black people does Bricky have at his local White Castle? Holy fuck, dude.
Anyway,
Oh,
overall,
man.
Salamanders are actually one of my personal favorite legions because they're just really cool. They're fun to play as because of all their flamer weapons, and they have a nice, like, more heartwarming lore as opposed to being super evil like everyone else is. Oh my god, we're not even a quarter of the way through the Space Marine legions.
So spiritually, I'm a salamander because I like to save the little dudes when I'm in Space Marine 2, and I try to run in front of them so they don't die.
Imperial Fists believe in the power of the siege and defensive positions. Raven Guards, master of stealth and sabotage while having burn helmets. Iron Hands, masters of machines and vehicles while being really goddamn good at being sold on eBay after one nerf. Space Wolves, Vikings and wolves and tons of wolves and axes, battle axes, fur everywhere. Space Wolves, angry, big teeth. Blood Angels, the genetic defect to make them want to drink blood and go crazy, called the Red Thirst. They have Cupid wings and stuff, which is a little bit strange, and they are all super gay for Sanguinius.
God damn, this was my sucker. If I couldn't choose the White Scars, I would probably choose the Blood Angels. I like these ones a lot as well.
Dark Angels are old school knights and inner circle theme and...
Are you a heretic?
Me? No, never. Once in a blue moon.
Hey, it's Beetlejuice.
Death Watch, a fancy anti-Xenos group that nobody plays because Death Watch, and they look cool though, but no one plays them. I don't know about Death Watch. They're there though. Black Templars, for the people who, if you haven't prayed at least 3 times a day, you're gonna start praying out that airlock. And I'm sure there's some other chapters I may have missed as well, like Crimson Fists and stuff, but those are the main ones right here. Here,
Right.
Quote from the Emperor himself. They shall be my finest.
I figured that the Death Watch would be a lot more popular considering how they opened up Space Marine 2 with the Death Watch. You plain ass, you know who in the Death Watch.
Warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war I shall forge them. They shall be of iron will and steely sinew. In great armor I shall clad them, and with the mightiest weapons shall they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease, no sickness shall blight them. They shall have such tactics, strategies, and machines that no foe will best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are my defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear. And on the tabletop, they fuck. Oh, they fuck hard. As of making this video, Space Marines are laughably strong. That might change at some point, but overall, Space Marines just have it's like a Swiss Army knife. A tool for anything you need, except it's like a gold-plated Swiss Army knife. It is extremely strong.
I'm not going to remember any of this. I'm probably not going to remember a lot of this either, but I think if I can remember at least 20, 30, 40% of this, I think I'm gonna call it exercise because it's a lot of information dumping, but like I have to be realistic about it, right? Like I have to slowly learn what I can learn and then try to see what else I can remember later on.
If you are actually getting into the tabletop of Warhammer, Space Marines are a great start. Also, whatever gameplay style you have, whether you want to be sit back with long range and heavy weaponry, go fast and run in, or even just full melee, all of these options are totally there for you. Space Marines are super badass, but unfortunately, it's time we start praying to our new god, the 2011 Honda Civic.
So is it any wonder people are afraid of technology?
Technology! The Adeptus Mechanicus.
They could need the BTech, yo.
The Adeptus Mechanicus are a technophile cult on Mars. Now, these people are a little bit weird.
So these people are essentially VR chat players, right?
Because they don't actually really believe in the Emperor of Mankind. And you might think, oh, whoa, Bricky, that sounds like some heresy. A little bit. They believe in the Emperor, they believe in his power, but they don't pray to him. They pray to something called the Omnissiah. And the Omnissiah is this kind of machine god that they believe permeates in all machines. And if you think, well, wait a minute, they believe in a different god as well? That sounds like super heresy. Well, yes-ish, but they also make all your guns, and they make all your tanks, and they make everything that you have.
Right.
So you can't really tell them to fuck off because you're not gonna win nothing if you don't got stuff to shoot people with. See, their Omnissiah at least makes sense from their standpoint. They believe it to be a deity that permeates through all machines. Your Honda Civic, your standard bolt gun, your Dune Strider Walker, your giant mechs, your huge ships. The Omnissiah is present through all. And the only reason your stuff works is because the machine's spirit in it says it works.
Pause. Wait, so is this similar to how the CIA and the FBI in the US is like work at the higher levels of OPSEC and computer cybersecurity stuff is all furries? So these guys are like the they're the equivalent of the Warhammer 40K cybersecurity, you know. Oh no. Also, so is the machine spirit an actual entity, or is it something that they've coded into their machines? Is the machine spirit like an actual? Because in Space Marine 2, Titus does speak to a machine spirit, but like my question is that machine spirit like did it just manifest in the computer that Titus was using, or did they add it into said computer? That's it's both. So we have Shondel, like System Shock Shondel in Space Marine, in Warhammer 40K. Okay, I think I got it.
If you want your gun to work, your tank to run, you must pray to it. And I mean full stop. You need to start chanting in high Gothic. You need to burn incense. You need to sit on your knees and pray to that car. You need to rub oil on your robes, and you need to go, hum.
Hey, that's what I do every single morning whenever I brew myself coffee. Smile.
Full stop. If you want your damn thing to work, if you want your gun to fire, you need to do that. They are very bizarre, and they actually have a bit of a point because it's obviously working. And if you look at them, I don't know how that works. So they obviously know something about what they're doing. The most notable member of the Adeptus Mechanicus is Archmagos, whatever, Belisarius Call. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Yeah, this is the group we're talking about.
Okay.
These are these weirdos. Here, the Omnissian Creed. The credo, Omnissiah. There is no truth in flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness. There is no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death. Flesh is weakness, flesh is death. The Omnissiah is the god of the machines, and if you wish to be whole, if you wish to be holy, if you wish to give unto him, you must saw down your limbs and remove your organs and replace them with mechanical parts, because that is what he wants, and that is how you will become enlightened. Hard technophiles mixed with religious extremism. Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, for their army side of things, they are with the Scutari. The Scutari operate with very bizarre weaponry and lots of different kinds of vehicles, tanks, and different...
Wait, they can throw hands? Wait, you're telling me the VR chat furries can throw hands? What the
people
fuck?
in between. They're very weird, but they have extremely wacky and enjoyable, and in fact quite effective both in the real game and in the lore, weaponry and gear. Overall, as an army on the tabletop, they're very weird and have a whole bunch of different shenanigans, but if you like kind of that quirky, wacky techno thing, I'd give them a pickup. Hell, they're so paranoid, I gotta keep going. They're so paranoid and crazy. These Dune Striders you see right here, one guy was able to make them work. One guy, and he died. And they're so scared they'll never work again that they keep them on and they never turn them off, and they run around in a circle the whole time until they need them, and then they corral it and they go to battle. Yep. The Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, if you want to talk about faith, though, let's talk about the Sisters of Battle.
There we go.
Has fallen for an eagle in Lego City.
The Sisters of Battle of the Adeptus Sororitas.
So this is what you guys kept saying I should be, but I can't be that in Space Marine 2.
If that's how I pronounce it correctly, is an all-female group of battle sisters going through the ecclesiarchy section of the Imperium. The ecclesiarchy is, of course, the church. This is, imagine a private army of the church, which is scary, and it is.
That's what happens to people who don't subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video.
The sisters are an extremely zealotous force, and they take this to a full extreme. They believe in three main things: faith, martyrdom, and fire. Through the bolter, the flamer, and the melta, the Sisters of Battle are extremely potent at taking out chaos and heretics. Mainly heretics, because as they are a fighting...
Wait, pause. I really enjoy the melta rifle in Space Marine 2. Oh no. Have a good stream, Bricky. Bye, hi Emperor, bye Emperor. I think you're leaving, Emperor, bye-bye.
Section of the ecclesiarchy church, that's the big thing they want to kill.
Space fandom, let's go.
Heretic will face the Emperor's justice through those three main weapons, the bolter, the flamer, and the melta, and they will do so with extreme prejudice.
Hell
literally.
yeah.
They are the closest things we have to nuns in space, and I'm talking hardcore nuns. They carry holy fire on their backs. They have holy books and sigils all across their armor. Their main battle tank is a fucking pipe organ missile launcher. They have small babies that they have removed their brain capacity to make them little servant cherubs to fly around and give them ammunition and shit.
What?
They drop churches from low orbit as mini drop pods onto battles. They drop churches into battles, and they blare war hymns and holy music from their frigates in low atmosphere and shower holy water across the battlefield. These are the people you are dealing with, and they're fucking awesome. They can literally stave off demons on the tabletop, because their faith is that strong. Remember the warp, the demons from the warp? Well, the warp also manifests in your mind.
There's a joke to be done here. To leave it to a woman to get disobsessed with religion. Oh, man.
All of your emotions, negative and positive, go through the warp. It's the immaterium, the place of all things. So if you are that mentally fortified, that mentally strong, you can stave off horrifying demons. And all these girls, oh, not a crack. Not a crack in that mental armor. Now, as much as a meme as they are, and as much as their models look a lot like Ongo Gabloglian, yeah, which I can't unsee anymore. I gotta say, I love their design. I think they're extremely cool. They're another army that I'm currently collecting. They just released a whole new line of figures very recently.
That army
and
looks
they look
really
wonderful.
good.
Everything from Celestine, the living, literally
That army looks
undying
really good.
saint from the Triumph of Saint Catherine, which is literally a funeral procession as a model. Those organ tanks I mentioned earlier. This shit is the most over-the-top badassery in a lot of the Warhammer universe, and goddamn it, is it over the top. But Sisters of Battle are so cool. While I'm a guardsman at heart, this is such a cool faction. By Bolter Shell, Flamer Burst, and Melta Blast, the mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sin of existence. So it has been for 5 millennia, so shall it be until the end of time.
They literally threaten violence to those who don't believe in them, or rather in their creed. Just like me, they'll hurt you if you don't do what they think you should do. God.
And speaking of burning demons.
I can see.
Oh hey, that's a
The
That's
Grey
a
Knights
Space Hulk,
are
right?
the first army I actually collected back in 7th edition. The Grey Knights are a super secretive and much more old school look at power armored knights, except they are all psychers. All of them have that crazy space magic magician shit. For every 100,000 guardsmen, there's one Grey Knight. For every 10,000 Sisters of Battle, there's one Grey Knight. For every 1,000 Space Marines, there's one Grey Knight. Grey Knights are the strongest of the strong, both in mental will and absolute just strength. These are
I currently suffer from the sin of existence. Damn, even while watching my stream? Not even my stream makes it better? Damn, it's over.
Space Marines that are all high-level psychers, all of them able to specifically do one goal, and that is kill demons. The Emperor believed that the demons of chaos were the #1 threat to the Imperium, and he probably is right. However, this group is entirely based on doing that through a myriad of tactics. Coming from the planet, or I guess the moon, of Titan in the Sol system, the Grey Knights are thrown through extremely rigorous training and are as clear of mind and soul as they possibly can be. Since the demons of the warp are the warp and your mind projects to the warp, people can go insane very fast, especially lower level psychers. These Grey Knights need to be able to harness the warp in the presence of demons and stay perfectly sane. One of their characters, one of my favorite characters, is named Castellan Crow. He has a demon blade, the black blade of Mahamahama, and he has to have it on him because it tempts everyone nearby, constantly beckoning them. Use my power, use my strength, suck my penis, whatever the possibility. And so he has to keep it.
Suck my dick, choke on it, damn. Wait, hold on. I think I'm getting called out here too.
On him all the time.
That's me.
As this thing whispers to him consistently, and he has to stave it off forever, being alone in his chambers or on the battlefield, because anyone who gets too close to it might be tempted a little too hard. He is that pure of heart and mind, and all the characters in the Grey Knights are basically like that. The only issue is that the Grey Knights have a scorched earth policy, more ways than one. If they're fighting demons, demons corrupt and make people crazy. So if I'm a guardsman and I'm fighting demons and the Grey Knights arrive and they kill all the demons, I'm a risk. And so guess who's not making it out of there? On the tabletop, they're very strike fast, strike hard kind of people. They teleport all around the place. They are fast.
So even if they witness you fighting a demon, just by the mere fact that you were in the vicinity of said demon, you are now tainted and therefore they shall kill you. Wow, gotcha. Okay.
Strike groups, small amounts of models because they're so dang strong. You only have so many characters, but with it, you get in there, you're very tough, very tanky, you hit really hard, and you try to bounce around the battlefield quickly, but you don't have numbers, and so every dead Grey Knight hits really damn hard. They're fun, though, if you like that kind of fast-striking kind of army. Oh, and also, Kaldor Drago is a thing. We're not even going to get into Kaldor Drago. All right, that is, oh my goodness gracious. I am the Hammer, I am the mail about his fist. I am the spear in his hand. Though we are lost, I am the shield on his arm. I am the flight of his arrows. I am the hammer. I am the sword. I am the shield. I am a soldier at the battle at the end of time.
Okay.
Grey Knights are pretty hardcore. They are as holy as you can get for a Space Marine. If you like Space Marines and you want to, you know that they're holy enough, you want to be holier, Grey Knights. Now, if you want to be holier and big, let's talk Imperial Knights.
Oh wait, are these the Space Hulks then? Could rather the is it a Space Hulk? Yeah, I think it is.
Do you like gigantic walkers the
This
size
robot right
of
here.
homes or medium-sized
here.
buildings? Do
Not
you want to
quite,
kill
no.
heretics, but you want to kill like 40 of them per turn? Do you want a gigantic old-school knight noble house style
These guys
of
are
walkers
bigger than
with
Space
giant
Hulks?
chainsaw
Jeez.
arms? Then you got Imperial Knights. Imperial
So they're almost as tall as me. Smile.
It's not a whole lot to talk about them because they're just gigantic walkers, but they have this old school like house feel to them, like literally like they're houses. Each Imperial Knight comes from a house, and each of them act in their own special way. These behemoth of walkers also destroy almost everything in their path, killing full swaths of squads in a couple shots, stepping on legions of troops. Like, these things do not mess around, and they look so cool. Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, actually, for that matter, don't have a whole lot to discuss. They're just super big, heavy walkers, and they look different depending on your house or Chaos God you currently believe in. And overall, these things are just really cool if you want to murder everything in your path. They're the big, scary, big unit of Warhammer, and if you want to collect them, go to town. They make for a great painting project too. Getting more back down to earth, let's talk something about a little bit different, a little more gold.
Adeptus
If guardsmen
Custodes.
are regular soldiers,
Okay, these are the ones that had the. I think these are the ones that had like the whole drama around them with the whole gender stuff a couple of months ago, right?
Space Marines are super soldiers. Grey Knights are super soldiers. The Adeptus Custodes are super soldiers cubed. The Adeptus Custodes are the third major army I own. I know, 3 armies. I know, I got carried away, okay, but
These are the ones that got some women retroactively added in. Gotcha. Okay.
that's all. I only have 3, okay? They are our final brand of Space Marines, but these ones are super special, okay? If a guardsman is 6 foot, a Space Marine is 7 feet, a custodian is 8 feet. These are the giant defenders of Holy Terra, which is also Earth. Earth is Terra, Terra, themselves. These are the people that literally guard the Emperor's throne room, hence Custodes. These boys protect the Emperor's throne room at all times and are literally like handcrafted people. They're not humans brought up by a gene seer or something. These are all handcrafted super soldiers.
Wow, we have test tube babies in this universe as well. We finally got to the test tube baby faction.
I think from a tube. These behemoth of men are like 8 feet, 8.5 feet tall, and functionally immortal. They stand still, spear in hand, for hundreds of years without the need to sleep and barely even the need to eat, watching over the throne room and every other area of Holy Terra for their entire purpose in life. And oh my lord, are they terrifying. These custodians put Space Marines to shame. If you liked your super soldiers, these are your super mega soldiers. One of these men can take on probably 3 Space Marines and most likely win. There are many different groups of custodians as well, like the Solar Watch, or there's also one of my personal favorite, the Aquilan Shield. The Aquilan Shield go out to...
There's sub-flavors to the flavors. Damn, there's so much stuff to catch up on and learn about.
Seemingly unimportant individuals and protect them because they believe that they are going to be doing something very important in their lives. For instance, let's say a regular guardsman gets the protection of this giant 8.5 foot tall golden god because that guardsman will end up becoming a general one day or something of that nature. The custodians work in mysterious ways and are almost always outnumbered but never outmatched. These people are pretty horrifying, both on the tabletop as well as in the lore. There are very few of them, however, and there's actually an extremely small amount of them, but that's kind of the point. There's only so many of these people that can have war gear this strong weapons this powerful and training
Right.
this good. And the
Right.
Custodians have all three of it. For one,
I wish they used more red, a little bit more red on the designs, because when it's all gold, it's not a bad design, but it's definitely not my favorite. I did really enjoy that greenish blue looking sword, because it reminds me a lot of the Moon Knight Greatsword from the From Software games.
100 years, I stood
And yes, that does include Armored Core if you didn't know.
my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years, I did not but wait, yet had
Okay.
any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years, I stood my watch, and as it ends, I can tell you this: patience is a weapon. The Custodians are the top
Hey,
dogs
that's
of
actual-
the Imperium,
That's actually really good advice, by the way. Patience is, in fact, a weapon.
and they hurt just that same way. Though I do want to discuss a little bit about the Sisters of Silence before we get out of here, because the Sisters of Silence I also have a few of, and they're really fun, but they don't get enough attention. These
You see, they don't look as cool as the Sisters of Battle.
kind of bald plume ladies are a whole group of pariahs, or also known as blanks. We'll be referring to them as blanks from now on. So as
okay.
every mind is somewhat connected to the warp, these blanks are a genetic mutation that has it suppressed heavily. Because of that mind suppression, normal people feel this weird, like, uncomfortable nature when around them. When a Sister of Silence walks past them, you feel ill. You feel just uncomfortable and strange. So most of them don't actually live past childhood, because once they are birthed, they're, well, you know, killed. Or
Yeah.
something at a very young
Figured.
age, because they just emit a horrifying aura. These ladies, however, are guardians of the throne as well for more psychic threats.
I'm gonna use that as an excuse for whenever I'm stinky because I haven't showered. That's gonna be my excuse. It's just that I'm connected to the warp, okay? Please understand.
See, none of the Custodians are psychers, so they have a difficult time dealing with major demons and other kinds of psychic phenomena. These sisters are extremely specialized in it, all of them taking a vow of silence as they don't speak, hence the term Sisters of Silence, but they communicate through hand gestures and things of that nature. But if there's a demon issue, if there's any kind of warp-based problem, the sisters are extremely adept at dealing with them, thanks to their blank gene. They normally work a lot of time with the Custodians because they have to deal with both kinds of threats, but they're not represented that way on the tabletop. In fact, they only have like one real model for them, which is very unfortunate. I hope they'll get something new soon, because I think they should really be working together as it is that way in the lore, but hopefully we'll get there soon. But if we're talking about blanks, let's talk assassins.
So this means that so the Sisters of Silence are essentially not, so would that make them nearly incorruptible then, the Sisters of Silence? Essentially, yes. Okay.
My precious power ring.
Very interesting.
Gone forever.
It's been a long video.
Seems like a weird concept that they haven't expanded. If this video, I'm not sure how old this video is, but in the offshoots that they haven't gotten many updates on the tabletop, that's kind of sad, because a unit that is essentially incorruptible, or pure to that point, it sounds like an interesting concept, and it would be a little bit sad if they haven't expanded on it. Yeah, but it takes a lot to do. Okay, as far as they're concerned, the warp doesn't exist. Damn, that's crazy, actually. So essentially, they're like, okay, they're checkmate. They essentially have a passive buff against the warp. Holy.
We're about to
That silences the warp.
round it out. We got this and one more human thing, and then we're done. The assassins, though, the Officio Assassinorum. Oh boy.
Oh hey, I have
these
some of these guys' cards in Magic the Gathering as well.
are deadly. Yeah, they're called assassins. They should be, but oh man, these people will mess you up. So these are from the Officio Assassinorum, a very special organization, and they are handpicked by the Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum from the what was it called? Schola Progenium. it's basically an orphan school. Your parents got murdered by
Now
demons or
dead
something.
parents.
You get sent to this, and you get trained to be whatever. Tempestus drop troop, an Inquisitor, maybe even. Maybe you get blank
Inquisitor
gene and you get thrown
Greyfax,
into the
that's one of
Sister
the-
Silence,
that's one of the,
or
decks.
sometimes you just disappear. When you are taken, however,
Oh
you
my
go to
God.
one of 4 temples, because the Assassinorum works in the temple style of things. These
Okay.
temples are the Vindicare, Caluxus, Calidus, and Eversor temples. Let's start with the Vindicare. I'm far away. I've been sitting here for 3 weeks. Poof! The Vindicare Temple is the main sniper-based temple. Gigantic sniper rifles for all these assassins. Their whole
Okay.
point is to be able to be in a spot and sit there, eye and scope, for weeks, waiting for their perfect target, taking people out from literal miles.
So these are the equivalent of what we have in real life. I think the Marines are which one of the military factions in the US is the ones that do this type of operation? Was it the Marines or was it the Army? I want to say it was the Marines, but I don't remember right now. But they are the equivalent of like what we have right now in in real life, which would be like the Marine rather the sniper duels, where one guy is like the shooter and we have another one which is the spotter, and they work in tandem in order to take out specific targets, and sometimes they can stay for weeks at a time in one spot waiting for that target.
Away after extremely long
Rainbow
time
Six
periods.
Siege players.
The Vindicare Temple is about precise, perfect aim. There have been reports of Vindicares being able to single out particular body parts from over 2-3 miles away. Temples in the head, the jugular, for instance, and been sitting there after weeks. And when they're ready, take that shot, time is done, packs them up. The Calidus Temple, however, is a lot more about shape-shifting and deviant art. It's mostly a female-based one, or at least it seems to be, and this allows a lot of body augmentation for certain individuals to be able to kind of transmorph themselves and infiltrate areas that are problems.
In other words, they can make their tits bigger.
These assassins will end up taking missions that take them years, 2-3 years, to infiltrate a heretical group and slowly work their way up, just to get enough
Jeez.
time to put a bullet into the main target's head and then escape unharmed.
So they're so these would be more similar to what the ninja were in Japan. Back when we still had ninjas, right? People who would like go undercover, sometimes for weeks at a time, infiltrate areas, lead relatively normal lives until they had a chance to take out their target. I believe that's what the ninja were in Japan. I don't remember right now though. Not with exact certainty.
Or become the main target and sabotage it from within. These are all completely about deception, mind tricks, polymorphing, and everything in between. And
Okay.
Lots of drawings. The Eversor Temple. Just kind of disturbing one. The Eversor Temple is about when you don't want anything to come back alive,
Jesus
friend
Christ,
or foe.
Bricky.
You want it all dead. An Eversor is psychogenically conditioned with just psychotherapy and psychological torture to only feel violence, hatred, and anger. It does the Clockwork Orange style of thing of just making you forced to watch never-ending pain and misery and psycho conditioning, I guess is the term. And then they pump you full of tons of psychedelic drugs and they cryo-freeze you. And then they
Jesus.
drop you in an area where they just want to make sure everything is dead. And then you defrost, full of just all this insane, mind-boggling psychotherapy.
You're in the biggest high of your life as you get dropped into probably the most dangerous situation you will ever be in. Jesus Christ.
And psychedelic drugs.
That's diabolical.
And you just go to town. Yeah, if you don't care if anyone comes back alive. You're like, all right, lost cause.
Basically, tame
Send
nukes.
them in. Finally, there's the most bizarre temple, the Caluxus Temple. The Caluxus assassins are feared even among the other temples. So that blank gene, the people will go to the Caluxus Temple with this as well. And this is where they can harness that to be massively.
Look at how lovely. Look at how lovely this one looks over here. What do you guys think? Do you guys like how this one looks? Isn't he so pretty and so cute? Look at him. Look at him.
Anti-psyker or even just anti-regular people. They are seen with extreme fear and distrust among many, many people. They are described by the Eldar by quote as being pure evil. Imagine that uncomfortable feeling from that blank gene I mentioned.
Hey Bricky, I don't appreciate. Listen, I haven't gotten to the lore video about the Tau, but I mentioned this before. One of my favorite looking armies from an outsider looking were the Tau. I don't appreciate all of the Tau abuse that you've been posting on this video, okay, motherfucker?
And then imagine them being taught and given equipment to amplify it by 100. If normally regular people feel uncomfortable, now they are basically akin to being a siren wailing directly in your ear. And if you're a psyker,
So you're average VTuber. Gotcha.
oh no, the sheer presence of a Custodes assassin is enough for you to tear your skin off. You will rather gouge your eyes out and rip your nails off than even being near this person. The Custodes
That's kind of hot.
assassin is when you want psychers to literally lose their minds, and they will go on their knees and ask you to gun them down because it is a suitable
Holy.
choice over being anywhere near you. The motto of that temple is, "That which is unknown and unseen commands the greatest fear." Now, for the
Wow.
tabletop, assassins aren't that special. You can call
Really?
them in no matter what Imperium faction you are, and they do a lot of work for themselves, but at the same time, they're very specialized and require a lot of finesse. And they work the way you generally want them to, though. You want to cause some distortion and weird stuff, you take a Custodes. You want to just murder swaths of infantry and then blow up Eversor. You want to kill that one guy, Vindicare, and if you have a lot of psychers, Custodes. It's a nice little, like, jack of all trades if you have a specific thing you want to kill. And you get to choose which is really fun. But now,
Okay.
let's talk about the last human faction. We can round this video out before we do part 2, the Inquisition. And we
Here
have a lot
we
to talk
go.
about with them.
On the subject of heresy!
Oh boy, where do I even begin with the Inquisition? Take every secret police you can think of. The
Okay.
KGB, the Gestapo, the CIA, FBI, any of these kinds of people. And then
just not found.
mark it up by about 10 and give them the most power in the entire Imperium. No, you know what? How about this? This right here, it's not just a quote. This is the Imperial motto, the motto of
Okay.
the Inquisition.
Okay.
I apologize for my bad pronunciation. Innocentia nihil probat. Innocence proves nothing. The most powerful organization in the Imperium, the secret police, their number one motto is innocence proves nothing.
What? Who told Games Workshop that they could steal my mods and put them in their tabletop game? Who told Games Workshop they could do that? What the fuck, man?
The Inquisition goes around like the secret police or like detectives to find issues in the Imperium. And they have different ordos depending on which one we're talking about. The Ordo Hereticus, the Ordo Xenos, the Ordo Malleus, for instance. And
Is Inquisitor Greyfax the MTG card from Ordo Hereticus, was it? Yeah. Was it from Order Hereticus?
a whole bunch of other ones. Hereticus is obvious, they deal with heretics. Xenos tries to find alien threats, and Malleus is demons. They all have different specializations in what they're trying to go for as this Inquisitor. And that's what they're called, Inquisitors. Each of them, as an Inquisitor, has their own free reign to do as they wish. They may have a ship and a crew, and they go out to find problems and interrogate people a lot. They are above the law in every department.
Hell yeah.
Over Space Marines. Now, the Space Marines might argue against them and stuff, and there might be a lot of blowback, but technically they are above them as Inquisitors.
And are they more powerful than Space Marines? Because they sure sound more powerful than Space Marines. So they're so power level wise, they're not more powerful than the Space Marines. But from a politics perspective in the universe, they definitely have a lot more sway. Yes? No? Maybe? Yes? Okay.
They are looking to investigate and figure out coups and cults and demonic incursions and possible Xenos issues like gene stealers or a new threat coming into an area. They're about learning that stuff and actually doing detective work. And memes aside, they're pretty good at it. The Inquisition having all of this power does make them a little bit power hungry and frantic sometimes. And yes, it is still a bad thing, but most of them are pretty good at their job. And they spend a lot of time being very diligent to make sure that all of these leads they follow are proper and correct. They're basically space detectives with just enormous power and sometimes a bit of a power complex. And we haven't even talked about Exterminatus yet. Exterminatus.
So the power that they wield is not a physical power like the Space Marines do, but they do hold the power of, you know, being able to essentially take any decisions that they want to take, regardless of whatever is below them thinks. Generally speaking, the Inquisition is the top, but they cannot order or interfere with the Custodes. The Golden Blades have the final say for which comes to shove, mostly regarding Terra itself. It's political power. Okay, so it's a political power that they wield like a hammer over everybody else, except the Custodes in this case. So whoever is below the Custodes is like... So the Custodes essentially are the most powerful, then.
Exterminatus is deeming a planet unfit to be...
Well, powerful from a strength perspective, like a physical strength perspective, but not necessarily from a political one, outside of if they get into a kerfuffle with the Inquisitors.
Saved. I deem that this planet is demon infested.
Okay, Custodes are above them. Okay.
And taking it back will cost too many resources and is not worth it. I have now committed exterminatus on this planet. I will now sign the death warrant of an entire Imperium planet, as it is unfit to take and better to be destroyed than allow the enemy to hold it. This can mean saturation bombardment. This can mean cracking the planet's core and breaking it apart. Doesn't matter. Render this planet inhospitable to all life. Yes, the innocence proves nothing people are the only people who can choose this planet must die in its entirety. Yeah, you're playing the villain. Now, it is memed a lot, but most Inquisitors are very rare to do Exterminatus. Exterminatus is a very crazy thing. There's only so many worlds that you don't want to destroy all of them. Now, naturally, with the memes aside, there are some people who are a little bit rough on this one. But most Inquisitors generally don't like to do Exterminatus a ton, but it is an option they have. And it's a crazy option when you think about it. Secret Police Inquisition.
It's funny because in one of my Magic the Gathering decks, I actually run a card called Exterminatus. And what I do is that I'll blink my entire board, play Exterminatus, wipe the boards of literally everybody else on the table, and then blink back into existence all of my stuff. It gets people so mad every time.
Are unfortunately not represented on the tabletop.
So, like the Inquisitors, whenever I have an opportunity to do it, I will do it.
Very much. You generally kind of put one in your army if you feel like it. You have a couple special options there and some side content, but they're not really fleshed out very well, and personally, they need a lot more stuff put in there, and they really need a lot more effort put into them, and they're not quite where I want them to be. Overall, the Inquisition makes for a lot of the best storytelling as well, because it's a little bit hard to talk about a big story of a whole bunch of Space Marines killing something, right? It's just a big battle story. It's not as interesting. Having that intrigue and that moral dilemma that an Inquisitor has makes for a lot better media. And honestly, the more people do it, I think it's better, because then it adds a little more humanity to the Warhammer horrible, horrible grimdarkness. And wow, we just finished the humans, all right? Come back to part 2 when we talk about Chaos and Xenos, because we got to talk about the 4 Chaos Gods and all the Chaos Marine Legions and the Tau and the Necrons and the Orcs, and oh boy, we got a lot. I'll see you in part 2.
Thank you, Bricky. I think I got a pretty nice refresher on, and at least the human side of stuff, which is honestly one of the more relevant sides of that I should probably be learning about, since you play in Space Marine 2 as a human, you know? So that's really, really good. I hope you enjoyed today's video. By the way, as a friendly reminder, we do all of this live here on YouTube and on Twitch, and you're likely missing out, so don't forget to check the links below for my socials. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next video. Love you.